Welcome back to the Bar Talk Podcast. This is Andy of Inebriart, and I'm here as always with my good friend. Yeah. I know him, all right? I know the guy.
Acquaintance. I like that word better. That's better.
Acquaintance. Karl and Andy of the New World Tavern.
Hello, everybody.
And Karl, you brought us somewhere. Where are we?
I did. We are today at the Union Brewhouse in Weymouth.
Weymouth,
Massachusetts.
Yep.
For those who don't live next to me. Probably the most famous craft beer bar, I would say, in the South Shore. We are here with Tom Powers and Ray Jennings. Now, interesting story. We'll get there later, but they just redid the bar. It looks very, very nice. Ray, you were in charge with that.
I was in charge of that. Yep. I have a couple of partners that I work with, and I can mention them if you want.
Now that later.
All right.
And Tom, you started this the Union Brewhouse, how many years ago?
23.
So 23 years ago. What was some of the beers you had on? Because that was before the craft beer brewery blew up.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So what did you have what did a craft beer bar look like for a lineup 23 years ago?
So you want to hear something funny. So I always had this 99 beer thing in my mind. So we have a beer club, a 99 beer club. Anyone can join. You just have to drink 99 different beers on our beer card. It's easy to join. It's easier to join than the book club because you don't have to know how to read. All you have to do is know how to count. You know what I mean? But it's a lot of fun and it keeps people coming back. So, anyways, the 99 beer list 23 years ago consisted of Beck's, Heineken, Carlsberg, just a lot of imports because there wasn't any great American craft beer. There wasn't hardly any. I had 12 draft lines and I think only 8 local craft beers. Sam Adams, Tremont, Harpoon, Magic Hat. Not too many. Bass.
Where's the other
well,
99?
there was like Bass Ale, Guinness. I mean, just a lot of imports. I had San Miguel.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, people really had to earn it. But now it's all great. Now it's all like local craft beer, and it's a great list.
And now, 23 years ago, I came in for a craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
Were you old enough to drink that, Karl?
23 years ago?
Yeah.
Just.
As a matter of fact, I think I was drinking here before it was the Union Brewhouse. It was Jeremiah's, I think, at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Tom took it over. Tom, how did you end up taking this place over?
Luck. Sheer luck.
Good luck or bad luck?
I guess you could look at it either way. So it ended up getting closed down for tax evasion, and it had kind of a notorious reputation. So on auction day, nobody showed up to buy it, except for my father. And him and his friend Paul Barry were the only 2 guys at the auction. Literally got the place for a song.
Now, what made you decide to focus on beer instead of just like?
So I've been a beer nerd forever. I was in the military. I was stationed over in Italy, and I used to go to this bar, Mike's Bamboo Bar, and he had beers from around the world, and I was just like, bar envy. I was like, I am going to do this someday. I'm going to have a place. I'm going to have beers from around the world. Because I used to go there every day and just, pick me a beer. Give me a surprise. What's behind door number 1? You know what I mean? So I came back here and got involved in the liquor store business in Southie. We were the first craft beer liquor store in Southie back in 1990. Whitey was still in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
He actually used to walk by every now and again and wave. We literally right around the corner from where he lived. Yeah. So it was pretty cool, but I was into it back then. We were selling beer kits. We had a homebrew club. I mean, think about it. Southie in 1990, in a homebrew club. It was it's unheard of.
It's crazy because I mean now, everyone's like, are you on Untapped or I'm on this internet group and
sure.
I wouldn't even. Granted, 1990, I wasn't old enough to drink, Karl. But
and there was no internet.
Yeah, there was little to none. How did you even go about researching these beers?
Just the good old-fashioned way. You go to liquor stores and find them and drink them. Read every magazine you could get. Beer Advocate was great. Things like that.
Yeah.
And you just had to do your homework. You really had to do a lot of legwork.
I just found out Beer Advocate used to be a magazine.
Oh yeah. Huh?
Wow. And what was, the tipping point? When did you you must have seen that tipping point where people went from, this was a unique thing to do, to, almost expected. Like, I'll walk into a place and just be like, well, what craft beers do you have on tap?
It's funny how it changed like that,
Yeah.
you know? And a lot of places still haven't embraced it. I mean, you go north of the city, north of Boston, that's one thing. But down here on the South Shore, there's certainly not too many people into it, you know?
Was there, like, a tipping point? Was it, you know, people look at Sam Adams now as, like, the big corporate giant, but that used to be the...
Oh, yeah.
Like
it used
the
to be
most successful craft.
Sure, sure. But now you go into a place, you know, I mean, no shot against Sam, but they're everywhere. And, you know, you don't feel like you're a craft beer guy if you can go in the 99 and drink a Sam and come here and
Fenway
drink a Sam.
or,
Yeah, it's just not the same. So now you have to kind of go out and get the more eclectic breweries. And
So how long did it take for customers to realize that you were a craft beer bar, and did they just walk in and say, "Ooh, what are these beers?"
It took a while. I actually had a sign out front that said 99 bottles of beer on the wall, and probably the first 20 people through the door wanted the 99-cent bottle of beer. I'm like, no, you're reading it wrong. So it took a while. I had Berkshire Steel Row Pale Ale. It was probably my most successful transition beer to get the guys off Bud and Miller and Coors. That it was nice, easy, extra pale, Steel Row extra pale.
So, I mean, at that time, you really had to, like, work and kind of
you really
sell.
did. You had to hand sell every beer to every person. But there were those guys that were just eager to jump on board.
Right.
Craft beer is kind of cool. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be pretty. You know, you don't even have to have a beard if you don't want to. But everyone's into it, you know, and it's fun. It's great.
Yeah. Nice. And so you guys have a full menu also. Was that kind of like an afterthought, or did you try to tie it in?
Yeah, you always have to have food. Certain towns have to have food, so we figured if we're going to do it, let's do it right.
Yeah.
You know, and what goes good with beer? Nachos, wings, chicken fingers. So we did that right away. I was heavily influenced by what's the bar next to Fenway there? The Boston.
Beer Works?
Yeah, Boston Beer Works. They were a big influence on me. I used to love that place. So I was like, we got to do what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
You know, great giant plates of nachos and stuff like that.
So now the question that you probably get at least once a week, what's your favorite beer that you've had over the years?
It's tough to pick out a favorite. I mean, there's so many good ones. I have a different favorite every day, you know? So it was probably like...
Not that you drink every day.
Well, no. Only if I'm alone or with someone. But I tried some... I really like the Hill Farmstead stuff. They do some awesome stuff. We're just starting to get the Trillium stuff in, so that's always fun. The guys out at Treehouse do a great job. I mean, there's great beer everywhere. We got a lot of Grimm. Single Cut is huge for us. A couple of great stories for you. So we kind of spawned a few breweries. Like the Widowmaker guys would just come in here and hang out and work on their beer card. This was before Widowmaker was even a thought. After they did the beers, they were like, let's open a brewery. So those guys were into it. Article 15, another guy that came over and got his beer plaque, you know. And now he's got a brewery.
So this is almost like a university.
It kind of is. Kyle Heine used to come here when he was just a lad and tell me, Tom, when are you going to sell me the place? When are you going to sell me the place? Right? Every time you were in, right?
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And then you said, can you stop coming in here for a while?
Yeah.
So then you had to open your own place.
Yeah.
I opened my own place based upon this place. I opened my own place, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
This is where we got the inspiration. When I opened up the New World Tavern in Plymouth, there was, for 30 miles, you couldn't get a craft beer anywhere. Maybe one or two at different spots, but this was the place to go for craft beer. And, you know, it's 30 miles away, and we came here just because this was the place to get what you couldn't get anywhere else.
I had my first IPA here.
Wow.
Did you? What was it?
It was an IPA. I have no idea.
Were you like 18?
No.
We don't talk about that.
No. It was a few years ago, obviously. But I didn't even know what it was. Didn't enjoy it. Still not an IPA fan. But I think they're getting better. I feel like they're getting less hoppy.
Well, they're not less hoppy. They're less bitter.
Okay.
I mean, years ago, it was the IBUs was measured for how hoppy the beer could be.
Yeah.
And after a while, your palate just can't take it anymore. But now, you could get something that's really high in the IBUs, but it could be a hop that makes it juicy, or it's or piney. So it's like marijuana.
Yeah.
20 years ago, there was two varieties.
Yeah.
And now there's like hundreds of varieties for beers and marijuana. I mean, it's just so the amount of hops that they put in now doesn't really measure the bitterness. So it's almost a measurement that shouldn't be used anymore.
What is your favorite marijuana strain these days, Karl?
Oh, I would go for the 420.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's smooth, smoky.
It's smoky.
But anyway, so 23 years later,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Or somewhere in between.
Yep.
In walks Ray Jennings.
Yep.
So Ray, what are you doing here?
Well, that's kind of a long story. I've been here for 23 years. Actually, Tom, is an interesting story I'd like to tell. Tom, I was probably one of his first customers. I came in the first day we were in here. I had lunch with my father. I'm a lawyer in Weymouth. My father was a lawyer at the time. He's since passed, but we came in. We sat down at the bar. We ordered lunch, and there were three guys at the end of the bar, sort of like dressed. It was sort of dressed like construction type guys. I guess they were building a place next door, the Ledges at the time, and they were kind of loud. They were kind of obnoxious. They were swearing, but there was five of us in the place at the time, besides Tom, who was bartending. And so Tom walks over. I think they ordered another round of beers. He says, "Guys, this is the last one. You're all set. And they paid the tab and they left the building. And I said, "Tom, you didn't have to do that on my account. It doesn't bother me at all, And he says, "I didn't do it for you." He says, I did it because if those guys are comfortable coming in here, then the girls won't come in. And if the girls won't come in, then the guys with money won't come in." And I turned to my father and I said, "I think the guy's either crazy or a genius." So that was a long time ago. And so I got involved because, make a long story short, I saw the opportunity as a potential real estate deal. I hope to be Tom's landlord and rescue the Union Brewhouse. That was basically the intention. Came in, said, "Tom, I got good news. I'm buying the land. I put a deposit down on it, and we're going to offer you a new lease and an extension and forever." And he said, "No, Ray, you want to buy the business." And I said, "No, Tom, I don't want to buy the business. I'm here. It's a real estate deal."
You want the business, Ray. You do. You want the business. So they didn't think they wanted the business.
So I have a couple other guys involved, Frank Clegg and Brian Pizarros, and both Weymouth guys, and they're really on the real estate end of things. And they said to me, "What did he say?" Like, we're not buying the business. And I said, "I don't know. You're going to have to come down and air it for yourself. I can't tell you. He wants to sell us the business." And so make a long story short, Tom is a shrewd negotiator. I've told him many times because I wound up with the business as well as the real estate. And, so it's going to work. But I really think right now, the way it's going, we couldn't have done it without Tom. I mean, it's absolutely essential that he's here because of his knowledge and everything else. So, and it also makes sense for the bank to have the continuity because you can't rely on his numbers if you don't have him involved, right? Then you're just a startup and there's three guys buying a bar. So, the real estate makes sense, but the bar makes sense too, and so it all sort of fits together.
So how do you guys transition from a single owner to multiple owners? I mean, is there some juggling? I mean, obviously you kind of have to give up more control than you're used to. Was that like a difficult transition?
So far, it's like bar school.
Yeah.
And that's what these guys are learning. They're turning me loose to do my thing. I've got control of the inventory. I'm doing what I normally do. It's not pulling my hair out as much as they are.
Yeah.
So they get all the stress and I have all the fun.
And so it gives you the opportunity to kind of pass on what you've learned over the 23 years.
And stay a part of it, too.
Yeah.
And, because I've been coming here every day for 23 years, so I do love the place. You build up great relationships with employees and customers, and just very relaxing to just come in here and hang out. Right, Karl?
Yeah. Not that I come here a lot. Jesus, what if my wife listens to this?
Jen doesn't listen to this.
She doesn't listen to you at home, but she listens to you on the computer phone.
So, Ray, what's your plans? What's the future hold for the Union Brewhouse?
Well, so the business plan is don't screw it up, So we're just going to keep everything. Fortunately, we got a lot of the staff back. So I think there was like 6 or 7 of the 12 maybe staff that had regular shifts. We've got those people back, and that was key, So you have continuity there, and then there are some ideas. We talk about it as a group, and Tom obviously has a lot of influence. Well, Chef wants to be uncaged with the menu, but hold on this time, and we'll start to step things up a little bit here and there, but we're not going to change too much. We made some improvements to the building. We're trying to, maybe offer some more things on the special board, but support the existing menu, and then keep the beer list going and keep people coming in and giving them what they've been coming here for 23 years and not screw it up, So that was kind of a funny thing, is because my partners are not beer guys at all.
Yeah.
I'm probably more of a beer guy, and I've been coming here for 23 years. I actually worked here when it was Jeremiah's. I bartended here, but that's another story. They're not beer guys at all, and they're used to some other places in town, and I just said, they're like, first thing I got out of them was, hey, when are we doing Keno? And I said, yeah, we're not doing Keno. Yeah, it's not that place. He said, how much so-and-so makes at Keno? And I said, yeah, just let it ride for a little bit, okay? We get plenty of time to make that decision, right, Tom?
Yes.
Well, as Tom says, and I'm sure he'll attest to this, is everybody that comes in the door, and we mean everybody, is going to say, you know what you should do? And then they're going to tell you all sorts of things.
Right.
Everybody.
I've been getting that.
And a lot of people really, I think, they have good intentions, but after a while you're like, listen, that's great. That's great. Yeah, you should do this. That's great. Yeah, you should do that. Oh, that's great.
I mean, what they're really saying is, I would like to do this while I'm here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or I had this discussion down the bar down the street, and this guy told me this is what we should do. But, so dealing with partners, they're great guys, by the way. They're freaking super awesome. They both have different skill sets than me, and so, we complement each other. I think Tom would tell you that. But as far as, making decisions and everything, we sort of, we've got a good rapport, and I think they're going to be great. I think I think if I was doing this myself, I'd be overwhelmed, to tell you the truth. It's just, there's a lot to do between a new POS system going in and, renovations and all of that stuff. It would be too much, So it's been good having the support, and these guys have been here day in and day out. I had this fear that I was going to be the only one that they were relying on, and they were just putting money in. And that's not the case. They're here, hands-on, do whatever, solve problems. They're absolutely awesome. So that's been great.
What's been like the one surprise when you took over? That, like the thing you didn't expect. I know Karl's told the story when the New World first opened and people started sitting. They realized there was no cash in the drawer. So have you had any of those experiences where you're like, oh, right, I have to do this, or I never thought this was a thing? And
well, Tom's got a story for that.
Yeah, so when you're training a guy to cash out the credit card slips, make sure you're standing right beside him. Because if he hits the wrong button, it could cost you hours and hours on the phone and stress you out like crazy.
Yeah.
Everything was resolved fine, but just one of those things you'll never forget, right?
Yeah, no, I hit the I settled the credit card machine without without adding any people's tips, so I had to run all of their credit card information over again to add the tips, which sounds simple enough, except we couldn't get the information sent to us in a format, so I literally had to handwrite all of the credit card information down, and I spent 2 hours today entering each item in the. I'm now very familiar with the credit card machine. Let's put it that way.
You learn by your mistakes. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah,
right?
That's one of those mistakes you don't ever make twice.
That's right. That's right.
But it's also, I think it was cool. Tom was totally calm through the whole thing, so he didn't freak out. Neither did I. We handled it,
So Tom, through your 23 years,
yes,
what would you say is the most aggravating thing about this business? From an owner's, manager's point of view.
Other than Karl coming in.
Just in general.
I think just the unpredictability of it. You never know when you're going to be busy. You know, you never know when someone's going to bail on you at the last second. I mean, it's just...
What do you mean bail?
Like a bartender that can't get it because the weather's
so
bad.
An employee.
Or an employee, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's frustrating. And when you run into it yourself and you're the only guy that's there to call...
That's right.
Yeah, so it gets a little stressful. You know, every time the shift is changing, you're waiting for the phone to ring, give it about half hour, and then you can...
Yep.
Okay, all right, you know. So,
yeah, just hoping everybody shows up for this shift.
Yeah. I mean, it's as stressful as you want to make it, I guess, but I think anytime you work really hard at something, you create a little more stress for yourself. I mean, we didn't have to have 150 kinds of beer.
Right.
You know? But we just did, and that's what makes us different. That's why people come in.
That's right. And you got to differentiate yourself these days, which gets harder and harder. And this is a good question for Ray, but when Tom opened this bar, and for 23 years, he was pretty much the only craft beer bar in town. Now, craft beer is everywhere. There's no such thing as a craft beer bar anymore. It's just a different bar. So, how are you going to do that in the future to differentiate yourself from everybody else?
Well,
Not to put you on the spot, but hurry
yeah,
up.
I mean, well, I was hoping to.
He's not going to run tips.
I was hoping to have some input from Tom on that because, no, I think that this place is unique. It's absolutely unique. And I just think it's the most unique place on the South Shore. It still is. It has a unique vibe to it.
It's got a great reputation.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we have unbelievable outreach from, like, Facebook and hits and everything else. And people just, the different social networks, they're psyched the place is back. So, like I said, it's try not to screw it up, and try to, we're going to upgrade the systems and do things to tweak it to make it more efficient, and upgrade the menu, and but try not to do too much too fast. I think the place looks great now. I mean, the improvements that we made, we put the hardwood floors in, which brighten the place up, and this back area that we're in now, we whitewashed the fireplace, and we did all kinds of, just little things, to improve it. And I think it's really comfortable. My wife loves coming in here now, so maybe we made too many improvements.
So you said you were a customer here first.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's different now when you come in? Because, we used to record this at New World, and then we realized that wasn't fair to Karl because he was basically at work trying to record at the same time. So now, is it different now that it's not your hangout, it's your business?
Yes, it's surreal.
Yeah.
It's literally surreal. I come in, and I feel just as comfortable as I did here when I was a customer for 23 years, but now I'm at work, too. That's surreal, man, to me. I mean, I literally had, I can tell one story. I had my 40th birthday party here, which was, what's that, 11 years ago in September. And I apparently was outside talking to one of my friends and telling them that I'd love to buy this place. And then 11 years to the day, I formed the corporation that's going to buy this place. So,
wow, it's crazy.
It's crazy, weird. So I'm like one of those people that has, ability to transform reality. It just takes 11 years for me. Which is a nice, it's a nice talent to have. I just,
Just got to wait around for it. Deja vu.
Be patient.
There's a lot of times, Tom, I bet you'd agree 100% with this, though. When you own a business and you're here quite a bit and it is fun and it's your hangout, after a while, you just got to get out. My wife would say, well, why don't we just go down the bar for dinner? I just left the bar. Can we go somewhere else? I need to relax, because if you're at the bar, you're always on. You're always looking. You might seem relaxed. You could have a couple of beers and something to eat, but you're always staring at what's going on. You're always wondering what the bartenders are doing, what the servers are doing, if the customers are getting, good service. So it gets hectic after a while, and you just want to go sit somewhere else.
And the regulars are all going to want to talk to you.
And the regulars all want to talk to you. You know what they say? You know what you should do.
Yeah. It's funny. Jeremy from Highland Cider was talking with me and a bunch of other downtown Plymouth people, and I guess he's talking about moving to the area, and he's like, where do you guys go that you don't get recognized? And Tatum is like, home. I go home so I don't be recognized.
Even my friends, they'll call me up and say, hey, I'm on my way to the bar. Are you there? I'm like, it's 7 o'clock at night. I've been there from 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm home. But they expect you to be there all the time, and they get upset or disappointed when you're not there and they go there. And, they, I don't call you and say, I'm going to meet you in your cubicle. Let's hang out for 3 hours. So
I would change my number.
Yeah. So it's tough because you really want people to like it. You really want people to come. But, there are long days in this business where you just want to say, I just want to go home. I just got to get out of here.
Then you get the occasional visit by other bar owners who think you got all the time in the world to talk to them and tell them your secrets. And they'll just stay and pick your ears for hours.
No other bar owners
I feel like you're
come to my
thinking
house.
of someone specific.
Keep talking.
So,
I'll be down.
Tom, the thing that I found most interesting was you said this place used to have a reputation. I've only ever known it as the Union Brewhouse, which, I didn't know either of you guys ahead of time, but I knew when you guys had that moment where you closed down to transfer over or whatever, because I was seeing it on Facebook. People were, upset or shocked or whatever. Was it a difficult transition from taking it from what it was to what it is now? And
for me,
well, I think the reputation was 23 years ago when he bought it.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, how do you go from taking a place, I don't know this place, so I can throw shade, of being a dive, to being a respectable staple in town? Like, was that a difficult change?
At that time, I didn't think so. Because I knew what I wanted. I wanted craft beer. No crap on tap. We've always done that. And, it was funny in the early days. We kind of a surly crowd coming in because that's what used to come here before. So I fought back by getting denim shirts and having the guys wear ties. And literally groups of people would walk in and see the way we were dressed and just turn around and walk out.
So it was more just you presented the vibe that you wanted.
Yes, absolutely. Killed them with kindness, like they say in Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
And
nice.
we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Be nice till you don't have to be nice, or you can't be,
Yeah.
I can speak to that because I was a bartender here at the place before he owned it.
Yeah.
And so there's a long story behind that, but the former owner had actually, he had hired me. His name was Dick Murphy, and he was a good guy, but he had stopped drinking for years, and then he was training me behind the bar to cash out and do all that stuff, and he was drinking schnapps, just killed a half a bottle, and he was a friend of my father's, so I said to my father the next day, I said, I thought you told me Dick Murphy didn't drink at all. And he said, as far as I know, he doesn't, or whatever, so I said, well, he polished off a half a bottle of schnapps last night. And he's like, well, I don't know what to say about it. He doesn't drink as far as I know. Turns out Dick Murphy, this is when it was Jeremiah's, had stage 4 cancer and wound up killing himself a couple years later, a couple weeks later. And that's when the place went downhill. It literally was being run. It had no captain. There was no owner. It was like his ex-wife, who was a school teacher, and it was a rough place. What happened is there was a place across the street called the Bomo, the Boston Motel, right? The Bomo in Weymouth. If you're from Weymouth, you know. And people get absolutely hammered over at the Bomo. And then I'd be here, there'd be no one in the place, and then at 11:30, the place is packed, full of people that are already shit-faced, you know what I mean? And I was like, the manager was a drunk, it was all kinds of crap going on in here. And I was in law school at the time. I was like, I can't freaking work here anymore. This is crazy. Not to mention we weren't making any money, You're selling cheap beer and people doing shots, and it's like, well, it just was not, it's not, not making any money. So I quit. I went on to other greener pastures. Went to finish law school, worked in a couple other bars and nightclubs and stuff, and this place went into bankruptcy actually, and my father was actually one of the creditors on the bankruptcy petition. I noticed.
And that's when you bought it.
Yeah. So when the government comes in and takes over, they just put a lock on the door.
Mm-hmm.
They shut everything off, and they put a lock on the door. Beers were on the table. Food was on plates. And this was 6 months after that it came. So you can imagine the state of the place.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. On top of not being a great place anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how long did it take you to make it?
It took like 3 or 4 months to really scrape it down, paint it, clean it, replace the bar, do a lot of inside work, and pretty it up.
And that's always the trick of opening a place, right? You have whatever money you earmarked to open your business.
Yep.
And you're trying to open it as quickly before that money runs out.
Exactly.
So you start getting more money.
Sure.
But it takes a lot of balls, I just got to say, to transition that place, because you have to basically ignore your existing customer base and just go full steam ahead, and that's just a really difficult thing to do.
And then you got to get the people that aren't the normal customer base to come in.
That's right.
Exactly.
You got to get a whole new customer base.
That's crazy.
And if people come in and they don't like it, they'll never come back again.
Yeah. So many people
first
don't survive
is
that.
really what people rely on.
Yeah.
So now we're 2019, almost 2020. The craft beer world is completely different. Back in the day, I'm sure you saw one beer and alcohol rep, maybe two, and now you're probably inundated with everybody who owns a brewery
on a daily basis. Yeah.
How do you navigate that without, you're a business, so you can't be totally about protecting people's feelings, but you can't cater to every brewery because
no, it's tough.
You have like 3 or 4 here in town, and
sure,
and that's just in Weymouth. So.
Well, you just try and give everyone a shot.
Yeah.
You give everyone a chance. I'm lucky at being here for so long. I know a lot of the brewers and brewery owners and stuff. So we get like first crack at a lot of one-off beers, experimental beers and things like that. If 1 or 2 kegs come into the state, chances are we're going to get one of them. Yeah. So that's pretty exciting, and that keeps people coming back too.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And we use
be on those apps or whatever.
Yeah,
and see
we use Untapped a lot, and we have this on deck list, and everyone's always drooling. We already have a KBS and a CBS in the queue for next year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
and for those people that don't understand what that means,
Kentucky Breakfast Stout and Canadian Breakfast Stout from
the founders. Right?
Yes, absolutely. That's like Grail type beers, and we do get a lot of those. So.
Yeah. So also,
this is Brian Pizarros, by the way, that just stepped in. Say hello, Brian. Brian's one of the owners here.
Oh, sure. You got to talk right into a microphone. Yeah. Oh,
just talk.
Yeah, got
it. Brian, I got a question for you. When are we gonna get Bud Light on tap?
Soon.
So that's an excellent question, because I know that's kind of like a thing with craft beer restaurants, is some don't have any standard domestic beers and others do. Is that...
It's all in a bottle. Yeah.
So you all have bottles?
Yeah, I think everybody has it. Well, everybody should have it.
Yeah.
In one state or another. But, I think it all depends on depends on what place you are.
Yeah.
And how many lines you have. So if you've only got, 10, 12 lines and you want yourself to be a craft beer bar, then carry it in the bottle.
Right.
But there's a lot of bars that have 5 or 6 lines, and they'll have Sam Adams, Bud, Miller Coors, Sierra Nevada, and they're just not that kind of bar that wants to carry that kind of beer, and that's fine too. I mean, it all depends on where you want to go and what you're going there for.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people that don't come to my place because I don't have $2 PBRs. But I never wanted to be that place that has $2 PBRs on draft. And you got to sell an awful lot of $2 PBRs to make a profit. And the people that are coming in that spend $10, it's hard to get a big profit off somebody that is spending $10 rather than somebody who's spending $25.
Yeah.
And then the staff don't want to work, right? So
right, because the staff's not making any money.
The staff doesn't want to work. So, they need to make money, and you always got to keep that in mind. They need to make money.
Because you got to sell 6 beers to get the same tip if you sold 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right.
And if you're going to do, so the talk has been, well, we should change our hours, start opening earlier. Well, who are you going to get to work earlier that if they're not making money? You got to promote that. You got to market that. You got to get, you got to get all those things in place to make sure that you fill the place. Not because you need to make money, but because you need to make the staff make money.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to get them to do it. So it can't just be like, oh, we'll just open it, noon because...
Right, and nobody knows about it except for... The people that come in 3 and say, "Oh, I noticed you were open already." Yeah, we opened 3 hours ago. It's new.
Yeah,
but
right.
nobody came in.
So those are things people don't think about, necessarily, because you wouldn't ordinarily think about that. But it's, you want to keep the staff happy and excited to be here, you know what I mean? And they walk in at noon on a random Wednesday. There's not going to be anybody in the place if you've been open at 3 for, 5 years or whatever, right? So
Right,
you gotta
right.
you gotta make sure that you get people in the door when they're there, so that they're excited about coming back to work. Otherwise, they're just not going to show up.
So back in Plymouth, it seems like the big trend is brunch. Everybody wants to go to brunch on Sunday. How much time do you guys spend chasing trends like that, or do you just kind of do it your way? And
I've never really. I love brunch, but
Yeah.
I know brunch would not work here.
yeah,
People that go out to brunch, they expect a lot.
yeah.
So, for me, brunch at the brew house would be a donut and a couple of good craft beers. You don't need much. So
Donut and Alka-Seltzer.
I think you
Bloody
you-
Mary
you-
bar might work.
Bloody Mary would be fun. For 1 week maybe.
Would you guys look to follow those trends or see what's
Not
trending?
really. No,
No?
we're kind of trendsetters.
Yeah.
Once you're in with the craft beer and you know everything about it, then everything else just kind of follows. You know what I mean? You're not going to sell a whole lot of salads with craft beer or a lot of brunch, healthy food type
Yeah.
things. You want you want to make people happy. A good tasting beer and some wings. Some nachos or whatever. That pizza that goes great. Burgers.
But it's funny you say that because with the food, you might not want to chase the trend, but with the beer business, you have to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So if the beer business is trending towards IPAs, you have to go that way.
If you want to be a craft beer bar,
Yep.
you do. You got to
Yep.
pay attention.
Yep.
And you can't just get what you like.
That's right.
I can, but because I
Well, yeah.
like the best. So.
But so you talk about chasing trends. It's tough to do in the food industry because the food industry, I think, changes so much. But with the beer industry it's been, the IPAs have been on a trend for years now, and it used to be the hoppier the better, and then it was session, and now it's hazy and juicy,
Doubles and triples,
just because it's still the IPAs, it's a different form of IPAs that really has been around for a long time.
Sure.
So you have to trace the trend.
It seems like the milkshake IPAs are huge.
Yeah, they're
milkshakes,
big.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Karl, we have 2 gentlemen here, the new guard and, no offense, the old guard. Should we?
Really old guard.
I was
And
talking,
I mean
talking about
really
you. Should we throw out some questions for them?
I think we should throw out some questions.
Okay. This one comes from.
Hold on, let me get the buzzers out so they can see, the first one who hits
Buzz
it gets
in?
the answer, yeah.
They can't tap the table. We've already been over that.
Oh, that's right, can't
All
tap the table.
So this one comes from Jenny Garcia, and she says, wondering what is a fair employee meal policy? Should it be the same for servers, cooks, and bus staff?
That's actually a really good question.
Employee meal policy.
Yeah.
So, kitchen guys always eat free. That's always been my policy. They're back there, they're working, they're cleaning. Can't charge them for food.
Okay,
Just my opinion.
You know
And-
what? I'm on the same
my opinion,
philosophy. I
and-
don't know why I have that philosophy, but I'm with you.
And servers, 50%. I used to be a nice guy. And
So you only give them half a meal?
half a meal for half price. So it works out for both of us. But I used to be the nice guy and say, oh, yeah, servers can eat free, until I saw people just taking a bite and throwing everything away. It's like,
Did they always shoot for the highest thing on the menu,
well,
too?
yeah, and they would.
Yeah.
And they would take one bite and throw the rest away. Now, if they have a corner left, they're taking that home because
Yeah.
they paid for it.
Yeah,
So
so it's that
it's
idea
less
of
waste and-
you give it's not to charge them; it's to remind them that it's of
Right.
value.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not free to me.
Right.
So don't just take a bite and throw it away,
Now you talk about the kitchen staff. Is grazing an issue?
No, not for
No?
me. Unless it's on my
Well,
plate.
let's say what is grazing? If you want your kitchen staff to taste what's going out,
Yeah.
they're grazing all the time.
Yeah,
If they're sitting there because they have no tickets up and they're just
eating pepperoni because it's there.
does it happen? Sure, I'm sure
Yeah.
it does. But I don't think it's as big a problem as you think it is.
Yeah, I'd be more concerned with my kitchen guys raiding the cooler with the beers in it than
the
I would
beers
be
in it,
about
yeah.
eating pepperoni,
Those guys are skinny. I don't think they even eat back there.
I don't think
I
so.
swear to God.
No, you're right.
Yeah, they're some of the skinniest people.
I always
know.
worry about the skinny cooks.
You know, the kitchen staff I always talk to, they say that they're always excited when someone sends something back because they're like, that means that we get to eat that.
Yeah, I don't.
That's not.
Well, maybe at one of the fancy schmancy places,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not our places.
So hold on. So we're talking about food. Let's talk about drinks. Do you give any shift drinks out? 2 shift drinks per employee.
Yes.
Wow.
That was
don't give me any
the old.
shifters.
That's how the old school did it.
Yeah,
I don't
it
know
was,
how.
oh, yeah.
I don't know how the new school's
It's
going to do
normally
it.
1, isn't it?
Yeah, it's normally 1.
Yeah.
And you do any drink that they want?
Sure.
We do beer, wine, or 1 mixed drink. So they're not having, 2 Crown Royals, neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they work hard all day, and I have no problem as they're cleaning up at the end of the night when we're closed to have a shift drink while they're, prepping for the next day.
Yeah. What about bartenders? Do you see them any differently? Do you get a different, either more shift drinks, or are they considered a
bartenders
server?
and servers?
Yeah.
No, I consider that the front of the house.
There's almost no difference here. It's bartenders and servers that are all the same. Like everyone's equal.
Yep. They all help each other. Wait
Yeah.
tables.
That was
and,
so
Yeah,
politically correct.
They pull
Well, he's a
tips.
new guy.
though.
Yeah,
They
they
pull,
pull
they pull
tips.
tips.
He's making
I
friends.
never worked in a place that pulled tips before. I didn't even know of the concept.
Yeah, we don't pull tips.
Yeah, they
Bartenders do.
Yeah.
If I have 2 bartenders on.
So they pull tips for the whole
The
do.
whole place, yeah.
The whole place.
Yeah,
The
so
whole
everyone works.
day.
Everyone works together.
Yeah.
I'll keep an
Yeah.
eye out for each other.
Right.
That's-
They all have a stake, and everyone
It's got to
else.
be a little reassuring, too, that way, because, even if you're having an off night, someone else can kind of
Yeah, and they
not
become
pitch in, but kind of...
And that way somebody's not walking by somebody's table and saying, I'm sorry, I'm not your server.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which is a
Everybody's helping everybody.
Right. Yeah, it worked out best
And you've been that way
for a
since
very
day
long
one,
time. Not since day one.
No?
I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Because the customers would come in and the waitresses would literally run to the door and herd them over to their table. And after a while, the bartenders were like,
Yeah.
yeah.
what are we going to
yeah,
do?
yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, here's what we're going to
That-
play nice. Everyone
But
work
that
together.
was the day of smoking sections and non-smoking sections.
yeah, this used to be the non-smoking section. So, yeah.
Where
This
was the
place
smoking section?
The whole bar.
Everywhere.
This place was
everywhere
the
else.
smokiest bar with the
I
lowest
was going
ceilings.
to say, so it's like...
Yeah.
Was there a curtain?
You had to have...
Well, you wanted the smoking section, by the way, as a server because they tip the most.
Yeah.
And they hang out and they
you
spend the
had
most
to,
money.
You had to have a non-smoking section.
So you would so this was designated
This was
non-smoking
it.
section.
We had
but-
the
See
4
how the big
tables.
difference is?
and-
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a huge difference.
It's just,
Meaning there's none.
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just crazy that...
yeah, it's crazy when you think back. But
Sure.
smoking on airplanes is just as crazy.
Well, yeah. So back then, the tables, we had the low tables.
Yeah.
So if you sat down, you were okay because the smoke was right about here. But if you stood up, you were right in the middle of it because the place is so small and the air doesn't move. It's just smoky.
So it's just like a cloud
And we
hanging.
sold cigars and we
Yeah.
had cigar dinners, so we were in.
Did you see a dip in business when that time changed? Or
You know what? It's funny. So for about a week or two, I think Quincy had smoking,
Yeah.
and Weymouth didn't. So the Quincy bars were like, "Come to Quincy, come and smoke." But after a couple of months, people were like, this is really nice.
Yeah,
I
it's
really like
it's
not
so
smelling like smoke. I like
funny
smelling my food.
how
and-
much of a difference it makes. I was down in Florida 2 years ago, and I walked into a place, and I'm like, kind of stinks in here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it almost smells like someone. And I look down, some dudes just like ripping butts at the end of the
Yeah,
bar, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh wow, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
There's
big
an ashtray
difference.
right in front of them. They're putting out, and you're sitting next to them going, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the smoke is going right into your
Yep.
face. Yeah.
And like one guy's like smoking and eating chicken wings, and you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so weird.
That is weird.
That was
Next question.
Next question. All right. Hang on one second. All right. So this one comes from Brandon Bleets. How old is your dishwashing machine, and how long do you expect it to last? Sounds like Brandon's having some issues.
Well,
My dishwashing
He's
machine's-
45, and if he lasts another 5 years, I'll be shocked.
My dishwashing machine's named Loretta, and I'm married to her, and I expect her to last longer than me.
And when she hears this, you'll need a new dishwashing machine.
We listen to Christmas music year round.
You know, my theory on that is, if it breaks, that's great because it means you've been using it.
Yeah.
So if it breaks down every 5 years, terrific. Just repair it. It's like complaining about having to replace the front door.
Yeah.
Geez, we have to replace this front door every 5 years. It's getting ripped off the hinges.
I've
It's
seen
not a bad deal.
wait staff complain that it's busy, and I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?
It's too busy.
Supposed to be busy."
Yeah. Stuff like that is,
Yeah.
that's a fact of life. Just maintain your property, maintain it.
They'll complain when it's slow. They'll complain when it's busy.
And
Yeah.
it's
It's never just right. It is never just right.
and it always, the dishwasher always breaks
On a
the
Friday.
height of dinner rush.
Nothing breaks on a Monday.
Yeah.
No. Well,
Just the tips. But
Sometimes.
that was a holiday, so it was really Sunday.
which that was very helpful being a holiday too. So if you're going to have money issues, do it on a holiday.
Yeah.
All right, so this one comes from, swear to God, these people make these names up. Navid Ramain. Navid. Thank you, Carl. Does anyone have a great way of cleaning your burger grill at the end of the night? We use oil from the fryer, soap, and water, even a griddle cleaner, but it always a hassle. Does anyone have a tried, true, tested way to make it look brand new again every night?
No. Next question.
The griddle? I thought vinegar was the big thing for that.
No, I think you actually just put oil on it and turn it up and burn everything off. Right?
Yeah.
A griddle, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I stay out of the kitchen.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll do an occasional
I'll
dish.
ask
That's
Steve.
it.
I don't know. Yeah.
That way you don't see him grazing. Stay out of the kitchen.
Stay out of the kitchen. All right, we'll have to get a chef on for that one.
Yeah.
All right, so this one comes from Sandy Grinstead. What do you do before your inspector comes around? Just curious.
What do we do?
Yeah, what do you
Well,
do?
the inspector comes in, the health inspector. It's always a surprise visit.
Yeah.
So you don't do anything that you wouldn't do normally on a day-to-day basis. You just got to make sure what you do on a day-to-day basis is enough to keep the health inspector happy.
Yeah.
Well, you wave him over, you say hello, you shake his hand, and then you look into the kitchen and you go like this to make sure they have your attention that the health inspector's here.
No.
You know people can't see you, right?
Yes, I can. These
Now-
guys saw me.
When the health inspector's around, and I'm betting it's this way in Plymouth because I know the guys in Plymouth, but is it this way in Weymouth? Say the health inspector came here, would you hop on the phone and call your buddies that have locations here and be like, hey, just so you know?
No, because we've always the health inspectors love us.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to show them their respect too.
You just wouldn't give people the heads up and be like, hey,
No.
No, you really can't. Now, if the police are doing stings, you would. You call your buddies that own the other bars locally and say, watch out. There's roadblocks or whatever. But yeah,
or the what's the group that does the ID checks?
ABCC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
if they're in town,
alert
you
each
let
other.
people
If someone needs to be alerted for the health inspector,
Then they shouldn't be.
Nah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat there.
Yeah.
They're good guys here in Weymouth too. They
Yeah.
don't give you a whole lot of
No,
trouble.
they want everyone to be successful.
Yeah.
And the health inspector, everybody knows, and he'll sit down and eat at your bar. Yeah,
Well, that's a good
or
thing.
come in on
Yeah.
his time off because he's probably a local guy.
Sure.
And he's always said to me that if I'm eating at a bar or a restaurant, all my buddies know it's okay to eat there.
Right.
So
It's a place that he's like,
Right.
oh, we should go this place. He's like, no.
But they know. You
no.
talk to the health inspector, and they're people too, just trying to do their job.
Yeah.
But they'll tell you up front. I know if I'm going to write somebody up the minute I walk through that door, because they know what the place looks like. If they're unless it's something egregious, that place is clean and they're looking through, and there's nothing really that breaks any rules.
Yeah.
They're not going to write them up. Now, if the place is a shithole, then they're going to start checking off those boxes right away because they know that, hey, you're not even trying.
Right.
So, we've gotten a few warnings. Hey, your fridge is getting a little low on Freon. Make sure you, crank this thing up and, send me a copy of the bill when the guy comes in so they know that it's done. Or, your can opener hasn't been washed since last night. Make sure you watch this more often. Or, hey, guys, keep an eye on this, keep an eye on that. Next time I come in, if he comes in and it's spotless clean, then he's like, hey, at least they're listening to me and I'm okay with it.
And that's
But
kind
if
of
he
what they're
comes in
there
and says,
for.
hey,
yeah.
listen, you didn't break any rules, but keep an eye on this, and that's the first thing that he looks at the next time he comes in.
Right.
And if you're not paying attention, then all of a sudden he's like, hey, guys, I tried to help you out, but
But I mean, that's kind of what he's there for. I mean,
that's what he's there for.
everyone
He's here-
develops bad
He's
habits.
there to keep the
and-
public safe.
Yeah.
I can tell you a real quick story about the health inspector. So what we had when we came in, we noticed that there was a small leak behind the grease trap in the kitchen. So it was a drain. It was a hole that had just worn through because the building's kind of old of the pipe, and it was spilling or whatever and staining things. And so we noticed that was there. So we took the grease trap, we just cut it out. And out in the thing, we almost had it in the dumpster, right? The lid went in the dumpster, and we're like, screw it. we'll get a new grease trap. And so there's a place in New Hampshire. Brian went up to New Hampshire. And he got a same basic size grease trap. He's like, we'll just plumb this in. The plumber came in and he was like, no, you can't put in a replacement grease trap. There's a new ordinance in Weymouth 10 years ago, whatever. That old grease trap's grandfathered in. And if you put a new grease trap in, it's like $6,000 for a new grease.
Yeah.
Not $300, $6,000.
Yeah.
So we made the old grease trap well again.
Yes.
And the health inspector came in, and it wasn't a problem, and it just, it's the same grease trap that it was, but just be careful. Just be careful, man.
Things you learn.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
And they still might make us upgrade the grease trap. We hope not. But I hear that it's not because we don't want to upgrade it. It's because it's not as good. The new ones are electric, and they have some sort of I don't know. I've just heard that they're not as good as the.
They're more expensive and break more often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The more.
But we've been, we do a lot of cleaning, and we've never had a problem with the health inspector. But again, I think the health inspectors, they're always there to make sure that it's the health of the customers. And,
Yeah.
of course. And the employees. That they're not there to rip you a new one just to be mean. They're out there because they don't want anybody getting sick.
Right.
So if you ever hear of a place getting shut down by the health department, there's a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, that guy was a jerk. There's a reason.
And where you guys have done some work, and I'm sure you've had to deal with like building inspectors, and when you transferred over, it's probably more than just a health inspection, right?
So I'm a lawyer, so I'm in court. I've been on the opposite side of the health inspector in court a couple of times, as well as the planning department and the building department, and they're all consummate professionals here in Weymouth.
Yeah.
I can't speak highly enough of them. Even they're probably not listening to this, but I would do so.
Well,
anyway.
I bet you they are. Oh, yeah.
No, I do so.
They will be after we put it on your Facebook.
We're gonna tag it.
I do it
1,000
anyway
downloads.
because they don't hold grudges. They don't. They're just they're professionals. You shake hands, you walk away. Win or lose. And that's really that's the sign of a professional. It's like you play hard, you try to win, and then you shake hands at the end of the game. At the end of the game, and that's it.
Was there any unexpected permitting that you needed? I remember I had a business in East Bridgewater, and I found out I needed a sign permit to have a sign in front of my business, which kind of
I
think
seems silly to
And then you
me.
need insurance in case that sign falls.
Yeah.
Because it's over the sidewalk.
we didn't do any renovations that required a permit here, so that was good. So we didn't do any structural changes or whatever. So the only permits that are required, we adopt all the permits that Tom had, and everything's in place. So we haven't made any sort of structural changes or anything like that. So, but even if we did, the planning department and the zoning board, they're pretty good here in Weymouth.
Oh, they're great to work with.
Yeah.
We've had 23 years and never an issue with them at all, and they've never had an issue with
No.
me. It's been just smooth. As a matter of fact, they were the first ones to call when I closed. They're like, "What's going on with the brew house?
Yeah.
Let us know. We want to know."
And I know a lot of those people, and they're just there to help. Like they're like, "What's going on?" Like that Tom's license has to remain in place until you get the liquor license transferred. Like something that you wouldn't know.
I think that
But
speaks volumes
they were
of the
calling me to
reputation.
say, you've done something wrong. They were
Right.
calling me to say, just make sure
Just make sure,
that all the taxes are being paid out of his account and everything like that. And I said that's the way it is until we close on the transfer of the business. That's the way it is. And so it wasn't like they're not looking to hit you with a
They were
violation.
knocking on the door, being like, "Hey, you
Yeah,
need this new permit."
and
Right, they're not waiting for you to fail. They're trying to help you.
Exactly. They want you to succeed. And so working with someone like that, and I can tell you it hasn't already been that way in Weymouth.
Yeah.
So I know from 25 years of experience working here, it hasn't always been that way.
All right, this one comes from Carla Jennings. She says, "I'm struggling to find good candidates. Where do you find qualified employees? Is it worth investing in Indeed? I'm tired of people coming in from fast food and unrelated chains. I need someone with a skill set and passion."
Good luck.
Yeah, everyone wants that employee.
Yeah.
It's a needle in a haystack, you know.
I think the best source is just people that the bartenders know. I mean, we brought in Juliet, who's kind of a fixture now, but she owned a restaurant before, and she works also at Mia Ragazza down in Marshfield, which is awesome. And she brought 2 of her other employees in, like she's just like, these girls will want shifts on the weekends, and she brought them to us. She knows the people she wants to work with. She wanted to be surrounded with people that she feels comfortable with, and that's a great
in the front
resource.
of the house. I will train the right employee. I don't care if they don't have any experience. If they have that way about them that you know is going to work in your place, then hire them and train them. You don't always need experienced people in the front, because you can train them the way that you want to do and mold them into the employee that you want them to be, rather than getting somebody
Right.
else that does things. Well, we don't do it that way at the other place. We do this, and and then all of a sudden they start butting heads with all the other employees. Kitchen's a little different. Kitchen, you want experience because you can't hold people's hands in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You can teach somebody how to make a drink and get it out, because as you're teaching them and get it out, it's
Out.
2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't teach somebody how to make a pizza in the back room and show them where all the ingredients are and how to cook it. And by then, it's too late. So it's harder to get, for me anyway, it's harder to get people in to work the kitchen and jive with the kitchen people rather than get front of the house. Front of the house, I'll take less experienced people in the front of the house if I think they have that personality that's really going to, shine. You could get somebody that's been working 20 years as a waitress and, she's a jerk.
Right.
And it's not going to go over in your restaurant. And you hired somebody with a lot of experience, but the customer's like, who the hell is this person?
Yeah, finding people's tough. It's a big shortage of staff out there these days. People don't cook at home anymore. Everyone goes out to eat every night.
Yeah.
Restaurants are opening up like crazy. And you go down to Boston Seaport. I mean, they're stealing servers from each other. Every restaurant down there. It's terrible.
Yeah. People steal employees, Carl.
I don't steal employees. Borrow some.
Carl's got the Underground Railroad.
Poached quite a few.
Well, Plymouth. It's amazing that any of them are open.
I know.
Because
Incredible.
every time you turn around, there's 3 more coming in.
Yeah.
And you got the same base of people. And you go to Speedwell one night, and then you
Right, but that's the problem too for the customers. If they bounce around Plymouth and they see a bartender that's been at 4 different bars in the last 2 years, you're like, how come she's bouncing around?
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason.
Or then you get people like Pumpkin, who's a friend of the show, works at like 4 different places all at the same time.
Right.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah, staffing's I would say, Tom, you've been doing this.
That's the most stressful aspect of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just staffing up.
And that's what
Yeah.
I put me in charge of.
And when you get the right people in place,
You got to take care of them.
and you get complacent because you're like, you know what, I'm finally staffed up. I got good people, and then a week later, it all changes for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's always dynamic.
You never.
No, it's like managing a baseball team. You got players coming in and out on free agency. It's like fantasy football almost. You got to figure out, and then people go on vacation. People, they have babies. Whatever. So it's like, it's a difficult aspect of it, but it's great to have Tom here, and basically the staff helps out too. I think that's the key. The staff helps out.
You
They're
have
like,
a good
hey,
staff.
so and so is available. It's like, okay, you can bring them
Isn't
down.
that a saying? Good staff, good
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Happy
life.
staff, good life.
Happy,
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
All right, guys, that's last call. So last call is our opportunity to go around the table and just pitch whatever we want. I feel like you guys are going to pitch the same thing. But we're going to start with Carl.
All right, Karl Heine from the New World Tavern on Main Street, downtown Plymouth. Come on down, great music, great people, great food, great atmosphere, really, really good-looking owner. So, come on down.
Good-looking guy.
Yeah. Tall, too.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to go to Ray.
Ray.
Yeah, Ray Jennings, a Union Brewhouse, 550 Washington Street in Weymouth, Massachusetts. Look us up on Facebook. Get to know us. Come down. Patronize us. There's new ownership, but there's also a consistency of ownership and management, which is great. And place is great. Craft brewery on the South Shore. Best craft brewery on the South Shore.
All right, Tom, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, come on down. We've been here for 23 years. If you haven't been here yet, you're missing out. And we're getting ready to go for another 23. So come on down. Tell us what you think.
All right. And this is Andy of Inebriart. If you want to reach out to us, if you want to write in a question, you can get us at bartalkcast@gmail.com. You can find us on the internet, on Facebook at bartalkcast, on Instagram and Twitter as well at bartalkcast. And we'll talk to you guys again next time.
Cheers.
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 Okay, thanks for checking out the podcast. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts on the Inebriart Podcast Network. There's the Bar Talk. There's Old Colony Cast. There's, of course, the Inebriart Podcast. And our latest, Retro Redoctopus, a kind of nerd genre podcast that you can check out now, all available on our website at inebri-art.com. And pretty much available everywhere that podcasts are available, on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, all those things. And if you don't see it where you're looking, let us know. We'll try to get onto that as well. And you can also email us at inebriart@yahoo.com with your questions, complaints, and suggestions. And also, if you could take the time to rate and review us on iTunes, that would be phenomenal. That helps us get more exposure and bring more of these great podcasts to your ears. And thanks again for listening.